My name is Alfie. I'm an alcoholic. Do I have to get super close, or can you guys hear me in the back? You guys can hear me? Cool deal. Like I said, my name is Alfie. I'm an alcoholic. Super grateful to be here, having an opportunity, to get honest, to share and to get free. Just going to take 1 second to just say a quick prayer if you don't mind. All right, cool deal. So I'm excited to be here. Like Will was kind of talking about, it's been quite some time since I've heard from Will. About 6 weeks ago, I got a huge, big jolt of reality and kind of like the fact on like where my sobriety and where my program was and like the lack thereof and all of the things that I hadn't been doing, all kind of came to this point, and so over like the last 6 weeks, I've thrown myself back very heavily into the program. I'm seeking outside help, I'm sharing on a level that I've been afraid to for the majority of my time sober. And it's funny, I woke up Tuesday morning, I'm uncomfortable, and I'm praying and I'm meditating and I'm like, God, please just help me get outside of myself. I'm so sick and tired of being selfish and self-centered and only thinking of myself. And Will's number pops up on my phone and I'm like, man, I ain't talked to this dude in like a year and a half. He must be trying to get sober or something, And, and I answer the phone and he sounded healthy and I'm like, okay, cool. He's like, man, this lady can't speak on Thursday, and I know I ain't thought about you in a long time, but you were the first person that popped into my head, and I'm like, where are you, bro? I haven't seen you in forever. And he's like, well, I'm in, Pinehurst, and I'm like, pulled up the GPS, I'm like 2 hours and 22 minutes on a Thursday, and I had just prayed to God, please help me, right? And I'm like, let me call you back. I'll call you right back. My first instinct, with 14 years sober is still to resist the help. God called me. I said, I'll call you back. I left the house. I was headed to the noon meeting. And I had that moment of clarity. It was like, the help that you just asked for just called you. And you said you'd call him back. I went to the noon meeting. And instantly I texted Will. And I'm like, I'll be there if the person can't make it. He told me he'd let me know last night. It's like 11 o'clock this morning. I'm at work. He's like, can you make it? And I'm like, I have a great out. He didn't call me last night. I don't have to do it now. But the fact of the matter is I need to do this. I need to say yes when Alcoholics Anonymous asks me to do something. Part of what's gone on in the last 6 weeks is I struggle with the amount of time that I have with being vulnerable. I struggle with being vulnerable with my sponsor. I have trouble talking exact nature with the network, my buddies in my life, and I extremely struggle with vulnerability in this relationship with my girlfriend that I've been in for 2 years. So I got sober at the age of 20 in a small town in Michigan. I thought my life was over. I was miserable. I was full of anxiety, depression, fear. I remember going early on to the beach with some people that were sober, and I just sat there and I didn't talk. And I just looked into the water, and I was just like, I'm just in trouble. I have no clue what I'm gonna do. My life is over. And thank God, man, there were some people, that just loved on a 20-year-old kid when he got here, man. They told me, man, just keep coming back, amongst a lot of other suggestions. There's lots of suggestions. And if you're like me, there's sometimes where I pick and choose which ones I want to do. I'll surrender here and, I'll sponsor over here and I'll do this when I want to. But thank God that I've been able to practice that one perfectly. I've kept coming back, whether whether I've taken my will and my life back or not, because that's kind of what's happened up until 6 weeks ago. Wow, I feel like I'm kind of going to just go to a topic speak and not even share my story. I'm trying to get back to like going to, when I got sober. But I don't think that's where God's trying to take me. I got in this relationship like 2 years ago. I'm 34. I've spent the majority of my time sober, single. I've struggled with the defect of character lust for a long time. I remember going to this convention like 6-7 years ago. This dude shared and he was talking about, some stuff that like Will was like, some stuff like I just don't talk about, like stuff that a lot of people suffer in silence, or at least I did, I felt like it was weird. It alienated me. It was a major struggle, so this dude shared his story, and I related, and like the way God works in my life is just always incredible if I'm in position and I'm open and if I'm sober. Like that's like the first part of it. It's like you can't get to anything if you're not sober. And this dude shared a story. I had gone up to this convention with a friend. Somehow we were at dinner, and the only seat that was open was next to the dude that was just shared my story, and I got the dude's number, and he lived in New Jersey, and within 6 months, this dude became the best relationship that I've ever had. I had like 8 years sober, and I had prayed, and I was like, man, I see people with these great sponsors and these amazing people in their lives, and I'm like, there's something wrong with me, right? Throughout my whole time in sobriety, it's like I have continued to struggle with feeling good enough, the low self-esteem, low self-worth. What I've been kind of like noticing lately, God, I'm bouncing all over the place. I'm going to go back. So like this dude came into my life, and, I started working on some things, and I spent many years trying to gain self-respect and integrity in my life. I'm working steps. I'm going to meetings. I'm sharing. I'm going to the detoxes. I'm sponsoring dudes. Like, I am not God, and I'm letting God work through me in this time. And like, life is incredible, And then that beautiful time came, man, where, I finally got the guts to ask this beautiful girl who had, was sitting in a meeting. She had like 5 years sober, and she like sat next to me like 2 meetings in a row. And I'm like, this is a sign, she swerved me for like 2 weeks. And then she finally was like, yeah, I'll go to dinner with you. She's like, I thought you were boring through texts. And I'm like, I am kind of boring, so like we started on this journey of dating, and, to keep it short, it's like I took my will and my life back. All the stuff that I did to be able to get to this point in my life, man, I took my will back. I stopped going to therapy. I stopped using a sponsor. That dude in New Jersey that filled many different roles in my sobriety. Like I stopped calling him. I stopped asking him, like, how do you do this? How do you do that? I don't know how to have healthy relationships, especially intimately with women. I've kind of figured out the guy thing, but I take my will back, it's just like a drink. It's just like, other substances, and for like 2 years, like I was just miserable, like a dry drunk, no meetings, no sponsoring, trying to fill voids anywhere, any way possible. This lady was like, you're not the dude I got in a relationship with, because like I didn't put recovery first. Sobriety was not on the radar. Like whatever I put in front of this thing, I better be willing to lose. And for like the last handful of months, leading up to just recently, she's like, you're not the dude I got in a relationship with. You're hard to live with. You're exhausting me. And I was just like in a place where it's like I was stuck, probably depressed, no program, no nothing, man. And it came to a point where she's like, you're not coming to Colorado for Christmas. I've been thinking about breaking up with you. And like the next day, like I dragged some stuff out of her. She's like, I got an apartment. I move in next Friday. And my life like flipped upside down, and the fear came rushing in. I'm starting to like learn some other things like the word codependency. I don't think a whole lot of guys use the word codependency, and I'm just like so uncomfortable, right? Like I don't know how to like be in my own skin. I am faced with like, I can't blame this on that I've been drinking or I've been doing this. It's like, this is my behavior. This is what I do when I am left to my own devices and I'm not taking this thing seriously. When I'm not going to meetings, I'm not giving myself any chances. Like I was taught early on, like if I go to a lot of meetings, I have a lot of chances. If I go to some meetings, I have some chances. And if I'm not going to many meetings, I don't have many chances. So this girl, like, I'm going to take that back. It's not the girl. God is working in my life in a very mysterious way. It has to, for me, and I'm sure just like y'all, it has to take something very serious. It has to take some serious amount of pain for me to be willing to do something different. I'm pretty comfortable in like some distorted pain that I'm really used to living in. Like that's normal. I'm good there. But God's like, no, I'm going to kick this thing up real quick on you. Because like you have been unwilling and stubborn to change. And like, I know that I have a plan for you. And like, I need you to like get your stuff together, So she like was like, I'm moving out. We can continue to date. I need space. And I'm like still not ready to surrender. Like I still don't want to stop drinking, right? I still don't want to stop drinking. I'm like, well, if you want to move out and you don't want to stay here and work on this thing with me, like clearly you don't want to be in this relationship. I'm still trying to control stuff. I'm still trying to get sober and I can't do it, and I finally was just like, all right, I'm not getting my way here, So the process of like sobriety started all over again with 14 years sober. I asked her, how can I be of service? Like, what can I do to help? And she's like, I need help moving. She sold all of her stuff when she moved into my house because it had to be my way. The control thing. With 12 years, when she moved in, I was 12 years sober. The control thing was still there. I still had not figured that piece out yet. So she had to sell all her stuff because my house had everything in it. And when she moved in, I didn't want to change this X, Y, and Z. So I felt it like I was like, I bought her a TV. God's put me in a position where I have a good job and I make some good money. And for like the last 2 years, I've been very selfish and self-centered, like the core of my alcoholism, So the process of getting sober started, and I'm like, how can I help? I'm helping her. Clearly at this point, I'm thinking if I just go to some meetings and if I just start calling my sponsor, everything will be okay. And that's not the fact. I'm left here, kind of like crippled in a ball. I'm uncomfortable. I don't know how to live. I got to go to work. But I got this thing that's like got me in a spot where I don't want to do anything else. I need to figure this out because I don't want to lose my relationship. And it's just like when I'm getting sober, like, how do I live life without this? How do I not drink? How do I turn this over to God? How do I just trust that everything's going to work out if I do the next right thing? And it's like, I'm so grateful she moved out because, like, if she would have just stayed, I would not be on the journey that I'm on now. Like, I would not be practicing the principles that I'm practicing now. I would not be seeking God. I would not, prayer and meditation left Alfie's vocabulary years ago. I went to a meeting 6 weeks ago, and I'm in, this dude's helping me. Clearly, I'm in a crisis. He's like, what step are you on? I'm like, well, my sponsor's got me doing a mini 4-step. He's like, he's like, you don't even have a first step. Like, you're still playing God, bro. Like, why does your sponsor have you on a 4-step? So, I'm really glad that she, loves herself enough to move out of the house. And really, like, it's just God putting some distance and forcing me to be uncomfortable, just like when I got sober, to have to do the things suggested, the things needed for me to embark on, like, taking care of myself, loving myself, the things that I did when I first got to Alcoholics Anonymous. You know, I'm like starting therapy, man, and for years my mom's like, she's 36 years sober, my dad's 39 years sober. I've been very unwilling to do some work on, like, my early childhood for whatever reason. And it's quite obvious that now I'm, like, taking a look at it. It's like, I grew up in a house, they were getting sober, both very emotionally not available. My dad never did the work, very dry. My mom got in a crazy codependent relationship, chased this dude. He was using, cheating on her. That's where her energy went. I'm a little kid. I don't have any safety. I don't have any security. I'm scared. And, like, this is the stuff that I ran from. And this is the stuff that I'm realizing today that is still in my life. You know, like, these things are still in my life because I've been unwilling to figure it out. I've been unwilling to take a look. I do not like to feel uncomfortable. Clearly, I like to use things outside of myself to make myself feel better. God said it's over. You know, so, and then I would leave the house and I would go to school. And for whatever reason, I chose friends that treated me poorly. You know, so, like, I never felt a part of, I never felt like I was good enough. And I still have that thing today where it's like, I hold myself to this high, crazy, unrealistic expectation of how I should live. So I can't ever reach it, so I live in this shame and guilt, and I'm not good enough. And I can't practice any grace and empathy with any of you guys because I can't do it with myself, so I don't let anybody else off the hook. You know, if somebody has a bad moment, I'm like, they're just a POS, you know, like... So these are things that, like, I'm starting to realize in present day. And little did I know that, like, I walked around on eggshells as a child. You know, like, I didn't know, like, one day, like, I might get loved by my parents. The next I might go hang out with my friends and they'd be cool, but the next day they might not. Dude, I just lost my train of thought. I must need a drink of water. Wow, I just completely blanked out. I think I've gone for like 10 minutes. So I'm just going to go back to vulnerability. You know, like I went to the park like on Tuesday. Like, I have a job, I work for myself. I can pick and choose when I'm working. And right now, like, my sobriety and taking care of my mental health and my sobriety is the most important thing. So I'm in the park the other day and I'm having trouble writing on this 4-step. And I just sat there and I just bawled my eyes out because I felt like a scared little child that was just lost in the park, you know, because I'm starting to put the pieces of the puzzle together at 14 years sober that I should have been doing all this time, you know, and I was able to call my good friend in New Jersey and share that with him. And I got a mom that's done the work and she sponsors and she's done all this work. And I called her and she's like, son, like, I've told you from the jump, like, when it's time for you to actually address this stuff, like, I'm here to validate you. Like, I know, like, I was not there for you. Like, and I was able to just sit on the phone and just cry to my mom, like, uncontrollably, you know. And, yeah, it's like, I don't like where I'm at, but, like, I'm starting to, like, get comfortable with it because it's like, I don't want to be the dude that I've been. Like, I'm excited to become the person that, like, I've been running from for so long. You know, like, I live a life beyond my wildest dreams. the last handful of months, man, I got like my boss is a good friend of mine. He's like, calls me, he's like, how are you doing? I'm like, bro, like I feel like a 6. And he's like, what do you mean you feel like a 6, bro? Like we see you as a 10. You know, like you're buying houses, you have a beautiful girlfriend, you got all this time sober, like everyone loves you. And I'm like, I feel like a 6. You know, so the beautiful thing is just like, I don't have to feel like that anymore, you know, and yeah, I don't know. It's quite wild. I hate that I'm drawing blanks now. I feel like I don't want to try to drag this out. Yeah, it's just, I guess I'm just going to bop around. I've been thinking about the word love a lot lately. I can tell people I love them all the time. I tell my parents I love them. I tell my girlfriend that I love them. I have people tell me that they love me all the time. I don't feel that. I don't feel loved, right? Like I don't feel like I don't feel that feeling internally, you know. And I'm sitting in therapy the other day, and it hits me. It's like I don't love myself right now, you know. So like I'm on this journey, you know, of trying to. You know, I feel like I'm trying to get sober again. That's literally how I feel. Like I feel uncomfortable. I feel like I'm trying to put one foot in front of the other. I feel like I'm throwing up on people. I can see my actions get a little better. I told my girlfriend the other day, I'm like, listen, I know like I have not given you a safe space to talk for like the last year and some change. I'm going to say sorry, but really like I'm just going to show you that I'm changing my behaviors. And I'm like, when you're willing to like share with me what you have going on and how you're doing, like I'm ready for that. And it didn't take long. Later that night, she said some stuff and I had to sit there and take it. And one of the things that she said was, she's like, I feel like you're smothering me. I feel like sometimes I make decisions based on how like I think that they're going to make you feel. And then like 2 days later, like we went to the gym together, we got pedicures, and then we got some food. We were at her apartment, and like I know that I'm getting different because I'm like, it's time for me to leave, right? Like it's 4 o'clock. I could easily see myself here till 9 o'clock and then leaving and getting in my truck and be like, I did it again. I'm not listening. I'm not trying to grow. I'm being selfish. And I left, and I went home, and I was uncomfortable, and I'm reading books outside of like what Alcoholics Anonymous is, and I'm jumping on meetings. Jumped on a Zoom meeting on Sunday night, and I just cried, you know, because I'm uncomfortable, you know, and this is different. I don't like to feel my feelings, but I am starting to get excited. Like I shared with my girlfriend yesterday, like I don't trust people, you know, like I don't understand why you love me. Like, if I told you exactly how I felt, you would leave me. You would abandon me. I never felt like I was cared for growing up. You know, so sobriety is it's a wild journey. I don't know if I'm really even talking about sobriety because I feel like I'm just talking about my relationship, which is probably a different program. You know, but that's why I keep trying to reference like getting sober with some of this stuff, you know, but yeah, I don't know. I'm excited that like I'm willing to jump in the truck and drive 2.5 hours and just like throw up and share with you guys what I have going on. Because the fact is that like I might be able to help someone, or there might be someone in this room that comes up to me after and be like, hey man, I've been where you're at and like I have a way out, you know. So I'm really glad to be here. I'm going to shut it down, and thank you guys for letting me share.